Lady. Hi, Luring Lady.
Hello.
And the host of Make It Plain podcast, Reverend Mark Thompson. Hi, Reverend Mark.
Hi, Tammy. God bless you.
God bless you right back. Okay, so let's get with this. This show is the business of being Black, and we want to know why Black people should even make it their business. Why should Black people care if these January 6th hearings have impact on our voters? Let's start with you, Reverend Mark.
Well, again, thanks for having me. We should care because the root of the January 6th insurrection was Donald Trump and the ideology of white supremacy. And so that being the case, that definitely impacts us. We know that this is also a group of people who've made it their business to suppress our right to vote. So it should be something we observe, something we care about. There were a great deal of racial and ethnic slurs that were used on January 6th.
Darius, why should Black people care?
You know, Black Americans have a lot more to think about and deal with right now than what happened on January 6th. We have the highest gas prices we ever had in this country. We're on a precipice of World War III with countries like China and Russia right now. I mean, our shelves are bare in supermarkets. You can't get baby formula. At the end of the day, you know, it was a very small subset of people that left the ellipse to go over to the Capitol. And it was an even smaller amount of people that actually went into the Capitol building. I am a Republican running for Congress, and I do not agree with anybody that stepped foot in that building, because if I myself was the congressman at the time, my life would have most likely been in danger as well.
Darius, I'm wondering if we were looking at the same hearings, because I didn't see just a little amount of people, a small amount of people.
You mean that went inside the building?
What would you consider small? Because they overtook the police officers and security that were there. It looked to be more of a mob to me than a small amount of people.
And murdered some.
You know, I was actually at the Capitol.
You say small. Are you saying maybe 20, 25 people went into the Capitol?
No. There was 1,200, but there's also over 100,000 people outside of the Capitol. You know, for those that weren't actually there on the day, they don't see those things or hear those things.
So you're saying maybe there were a couple of hundred, like maybe 200, 300 people that went inside the Capitol.
Yeah, there was a few hundred that either went inside the Capitol or tried to enter the Capitol, and whatever comes their way, especially when you put people's lives in danger, they deserve whatever's coming their way, and everybody knows my public stance on that. When it comes to a lot of the police officers, I know we like to say that some of the police officers were killed, but as we know through the hearings, that it's actually not the case. You know, one of the gentlemen died from heart complications. You know, a couple other people committed suicide in certain cases. So it's not that people were actually killed. These police officers were killed at the January 6th hearing, and if you're listening to them, people know that.
I just wanted to clear it up, but 200 to 300 people entering the Capitol without permission is still, that's a bad number. Luring Lady, please, why should Black people care? Why should I even care about what's happening in these hearings?
Because I just feel like if you're ethical, you care about such tragic thing happening. And a few hundreds actually is a lot of people to enter a government building. But do I think it directly affects Black people? No, I don't think so at all. But just because you're ethical, you should care.
Well, it's the reason, if I could add, it is evidenced in the fact that Black people in states like in Arizona and across the South in Georgia are the reason why we have the particular Congress, the Senate, set up at a 50-50 margin right now. They're the reason why we have President Biden in the White House right now. They are the evidence of why this insurrection took place in the first place. We are the reasons why Black voters who voted to ensure that our Congress and our president was elected is the reason why we are being now attacked for it as a result of January 6th. So that is why we should be, that's why we should care about it. And that's how we are being directly impacted and almost disciplined.
Interesting choice of words. Black people are being disciplined for Barack Obama and their choice to vote for what they feel represents them. Luring Lady, I do want to know though, why don't you feel it's important to Black people? What are some of those reasons?
I don't understand what Jasmine just said, how the Black vote has anything to do with that, to be honest. I just didn't catch her connection.
Well, it doesn't, and I can
don't
tell you,
believe
people
Let
like
me,
that
Jasmine,
Jasmine.
hold that
election.
thought. Let me get Darius in real quick.
Yeah, and it doesn't, and it goes back to the comment that Jasmine made when she basically blanketly said people like me are the reason why we should care. I think that's part of the reason why people don't care, because they hear these grandiose statements and then they find out about people and they learn their stories and they understand the assessments that people are making is not the actual reality of the situation. But I do believe everybody has the right to express their First Amendment right, which was what the majority of the people, the 100,000 plus people that were outside of the Capitol, were doing.
If I can get in here, I would go back to the main purpose of why January 6th existed in the first place. It was a rally to decertify or to not certify an election under the belief that President Biden had actually won. That is why people were gathering. That is why people were headed to the United States Capitol. So I think, Darius, your presence there covering a story as a reporter, or journalist, or however the title is you want to provide for this story is perfectly fine. But those surrounding you, whether outside or inside, were there with different intentions. And those who breached security and those who ended up being harmed and now arrested and are serving time had different intentions. And their intentions were to make sure that President Biden did not become president of the United States. And that is why Black people need to pay attention, because it was their votes who made sure Biden actually became president. And so those votes are the ones that people want to throw out. It's specifically the insurrectionists and those who are rallying to make sure that they don't get certified. That is why we are having this conversation.
I want to get Loring Lady in here. Loring Lady, the impact that you said earlier, you didn't really understand what Jasmine was saying. And what she was saying in a nutshell is that the impact of that may affect the elections, because the January 6th hearings were specifically to stop an election that had already happened and to prevent it from, to prevent the results from happening in real time. So do you understand that part, right?
Yes, but I don't understand how is it to overthrow the black vote? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, because they relate everything to race.
I never said that.
But Darius, you can't answer. So let somebody.
They relate everything.
Go ahead, Darius.
That's why.
Let somebody else answer who can answer.
Yeah, I never said it would overthrow the black vote.
That's Jasmine. Jasmine, go ahead. She said she never.
Yeah, I never said that. That it would overthrow.
I think, Jasmine, what Loring Lady is referring to when you said it was directly to stop the black vote.
Yes.
Right. People of color are the reason why Biden was able to win his election. Those particular votes. People of color came out in a significant higher amount that they did in past elections. And those are the ones that typically impact elections when they are so close to the edges, if you will, when it's time to decide on a presidential or any sort of race. So that is what I'm referring to. Those specific groups of voters are the ones that are most disproportionately affected, and 9 times out of 10 are the ones who are the most fragile and impacted when it's time to throw out votes to be certified by canvassing boards. So that is why I
think what Loring Lady is saying here is that more than the black vote, it disrupted democracy. And so in that terms, it didn't just affect the black vote. It also affected those white people that voted for Joe Biden and those Hispanic people that voted for Joe Biden. Although we all can agree, even Joe Biden, who was on the Breakfast Club saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. We can all agree that
so-called black people thought that was
the black vote actually propelled him into this win. And so did the fact that he had a black woman who was his vice president on the ticket, propelled him to that win. So that's really what Jasmine's speaking to, Loring Lady. But I understand it's not just about black people in terms of the destruction of the Capitol. It was just that Donald Trump's people wanted Donald Trump to win. And this type of thing has never happened before. So could it be more of a Donald Trump thing and his allegiance base versus a black thing? So Loring Lady, do you agree at the least that there is some type of goal to suppress the African-American vote here?
No, not at all.
No.
Why not?
Sounds like an attempt, which is very common amongst the Democratic Party, to just add race to something where race is not relevant at all. I think it had to do with Donald Trump and his supporters wanting him to win. It had nothing to do with, suppress the black vote or anything to do with black people at all.
Yeah, and this is why, and I'll say this for
hold
Georgia.
on, Reverend Mark. Hold that thought, Reverend Mark. Hold that thought.
Hold that thought,
Reverend Mark. Reverend Mark, hold that thought. Reverend Mark, hold that thought. Hold that thought. Go ahead, Darius.
Well, he said, "Find me some more votes." Can you take that literally? Possibly, sir. Find me some more votes. So I'm not going to sit here and judge him on him.
So we're not going to take the president of the United States literal.
Well, when he says, "Find me some more votes,"
when he says anything.
Absolutely, but you also got to take their personality into account. We say things that aren't necessarily matter of fact in New Jersey on the East Coast. I'll say something to my cousins like, "Hey, you big head little kid." Like, we don't mean these things.
I mean, but what you're saying here is, I say to my cousin, "Hey, you little big head," or whatever. That's much different than the president of the United States telling an attorney general to find more votes so he can win. How can you not take that literal? How is that a joke? How is that a joke?
Well, I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing at all. But let me ask you this. Was he charged for saying that? Did he do something illegal by saying that? I understand what you're saying by him saying that question.
The hearings are charging him.
Was this
intellectual dishonesty?
Well, this is coming out. This is coming out in the hearings. This is coming out in the hearings.
In fact, what we heard yesterday.
Before that.
We heard. Wait, actually, you know what we heard yesterday? Now the leaders of the hearing are saying they are now told us, they just told us yesterday that now the purpose of these hearings is not to find anybody criminally liable. They just said that. Now they're setting up the okie doke once again.
Willis is charging him in
They
Georgia.
do not have the evidence.
Willis is charging him in Georgia.
They literally just said this to us yesterday. Literally
hold
said
that
to
Darius.
us.
Go ahead, Reverend Mark.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Everybody all
Reverend
over.
Mark, Reverend Mark.
Johnny Willis.
Reverend Mark. I want to slow you down for a little. I got it. I'll let everyone know when it's okay to speak, and so I can guide you. All right, go ahead, Reverend Mark. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I thought you said we could cross talk in this. So
yes, I did, but respectfully. So I'm handling that part.
I'm trying not to be disrespectful, but the thing is, there's a lot of intellectual dishonesty. The gentleman just said Donald Trump is not being charged with anything. That is completely and utterly false. He's being charged in Georgia for his behavior. To say that
that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
I say something.
I said, is Donald Trump being charged for saying that? I can actually repeat exactly what I said, unlike you, and tell the truth, my man.
Okay. So all right, then let's take you at your word. You said, is Donald Trump being charged? Repeat what you said, and I'll prove to you how wrong you are. Repeat
is he being charged for asking that question? When he said, find me, or saying what he said, find me some votes, is he being charged for that?
And you know he's being charged. And if you say otherwise, you're being intellectually dishonest.
I think you have.
Jasmine, let's get in here real quick.
Thank you. I would just quickly say that a byproduct of what's happening in states, more specifically in the state of Florida, we can talk about the fact that Black voters turned out at 8.4% more than they did in any year in the 2020 election. And then in 2021, our governor decided to put voter suppression laws like creating voter ID requirements for drop boxes, banning drop boxes in communities where they were previously accessible. When you have an election in 2020 under Governor Ron DeSantis, who declared that our state had one of the cleanest and most successful elections in our state's history, with Black voter turnout, specifically using vote by mail ballots, increased by 8.4%. There are new restrictions on passing out food and water at polling places. And this year, he decided to go even further and launch a new elections task force. So we won't be met by poll workers in the way that we have in past elections. We'll be met by police officers at the polls this year. So if you're telling me this isn't about voter suppression, conveniently at a time where he is running for re-election and has ambitions of being this nation's president, you are absolutely wrong. This has all been set up on a path to victory for him long before we got to this part. If you tell me, I think we had
Lauren Lady, Jasmine, Lauren, hold that thought. Let me get Lauren Lady in here. Lauren Lady, when Jasmine mentions these new rules and regulations that are being set up, was it necessary to create new voter rules in these different states that they have had? Or was that because more Black people voted and so now they got to figure out how to not let that happen?
It had nothing to do with Black people voting. More Black people voted when Obama was running, not during this Trump. A lot of Black people didn't care to vote. I saw Black people voting during the Obama era, but I believe those restrictions were necessary because illegal immigrants and other people were able to vote.
Exactly. And when you start to see the Democrats start to, really advocate to federalize our elections, of course, you're going to see state legislators and governors start to do their part to fortify their right to govern their own elections at the end of the day. It's funny. We've been called conspiracy theories for so long. I encourage Black people, because I'm always in the hood, Trenton, New Jersey, Plainfield, New Jersey, Franklin. That's where I come from. That's where I feel comfortable. And I always speak to them about the need to diversify their political affiliation. These things. I just had a cousin the other day.
Darius, hold that thought on your cousin there. Hold on. Luring lady, I want to ask you, have you been paying attention to the January 6th hearings?
To be honest with you, after a while, I got tired of it. It's a sham. I'm not going to lie to you. At first I did, because it is upsetting. At the end of the day, they were wrong for storming inside of the building. Whoever entered the building deserved whatever they got. I don't feel sorry for any of them. But
you believe that if Trump would have won, they would have stormed that building?
No. They were definitely there because he lost.
But were they there because he sent them?
I sit on the fence there. He didn't directly say, hey, go storm the building, but he did say fight like hell.
And he did say go to the Capitol now.
Yeah, but I don't think he said to go into the building. That's the thing.
No, he didn't say that. He said go, though. He definitely said go.
Go, okay. So if he said go and just march, he didn't mean to go inside and storm the building.
Like he said 30 days before that, at the last rally, he rode by on the car and said, march over to the Supreme Court. We all marched over to the Supreme Court and nobody went inside that building. Again, this time you had some knuckleheads that did some stupid things. I'm glad I'm smart enough not to participate in that. And the overwhelming majority of people there were smart enough to not participate in that. And as well, I know a lot of conservatives, obviously I'm a Republican, and the majority of conservatives do not agree with what happened on January 6th with those people entering that building. But just like we do for Antifa, Black Lives Matter, we believe that everybody should have the right to always peacefully express themselves.
I'm here to hear what you have to say, but I do want to keep it factual. They did say hang Mike Pence. That is violent.
We're talking about outside.
They did use flag poles. They did tackle the police and push the police back. It was violent. There was bloodshed.
You're talking about everything that happened outside the building. I'm talking about what happened inside the building. The only bloodshed was the one young woman that unfortunately got shot inside. I'm talking about inside the building. And again,
inside and out, none of that behavior should have been there in the first place. None of that behavior should have been conducted inside or out. Windows were being broken on that day. And even though the president didn't say go inside, he knew Pence was inside. And he also knew that Pence was going to refuse to take his orders of certifying or non-certifying this election. He gave Pence orders that he knew he did not have the power to take on. And he knew Pence was in that building. Pence had to take cover because if not, those people were coming after him. He was live tweeting, directing folks to do exactly what they ended up doing that was causing harm to people. Their targets may have been different, but his intention was pure. It was to make sure that those people rose up the way that they did and attacked that building the way that they did from the inside.
And that's where you lose. That's where you lose people like me, and I think the majority of American citizens. Because I think the majority is understand if you listen, because you got to remember after what happened, let's say in somewhere like Charlottesville, this is the same party that told us Donald Trump didn't give a speech excoriating, what happened and calling out white supremacy and those things. We all saw the video and we know that happened. So this is the area that we get into when those type of comments are being made. And I think that's a great thing.
Let's take a quick break. Come right back. Do diehard Trump supporters care if he's guilty, luring lady?
They don't care. No.
Why don't they care about ethics, morality? Why?
The example that I can give would be a bit far, but it's the best example I can give you.
Let's go for it.
In Black families, right? the breadwinner, the male figure or whatever can molest all the kids in the family, guess what? The Black families will still support them. The Black families they would never call the police. They would never out them. Why not? It's the same question. Why is it that something so unethical is still support? Why do you still support this person? So that's the best comparison I can give you. Diehard Trump supporters, they don't care. Same way Black people, you don't care that your uncle, your brother, your father, whoever molested all the kids in your family. You still support that person.
Okay. You called all out.
Tammy, I'd agree with that to some extent. Real quick, I think most diehards are not going to move. But what this hearing has done, I want y'all to think about this, and I would ask Luring Lady to consider this as well. People heard for the first time, all the diehards who sent him $250 million to stop the steal, they're hearing for the first time that was grift, that was wire fraud. And so I can't help but think there will be even the smallest percentage of those who send him that money that are going to be saying, well, wait a minute now, why am I sending this man money? To use her analogy, the molester, why am I sending him money and nothing is being done about it? Secondarily, Raffensperger testified when Trump asked him to find 11,000 votes. He told President Trump that there were over 30,000 Georgians, Georgia Republicans, that did not vote for him on the ballot. They ignored the top of the ballot and went down ballot. Why in 2020 would over 33,000, it was more than 33,000, Georgia Republicans not vote for their diehard Republicans not vote for Donald Trump?
Get to your projects real quick before we run out of time here. Luring Lady, tell us about those exotic tea blends and desserts.
Oh my God, you just put me on blast. Wait, hold on. I didn't even know you guys did. How do you even know about that? Wait.
Well, just tell us where we can get them.
What? Okay. You can go to my website, luringlady.com.
There it is. And you guys get ready for Cocktails with the Queens. Yep, Claudia and her crew are going to do it up. Until next time, it's truly a blessing to be in your box on The Business of Being Black with Tammy Mack on Fox Soul. Thank you. Bye, y'all.
Bye-bye.